Hello, Sula here from Misty Hilltops Designs. Thanks for stopping by. I have another page of my Winter 2018 mini album ready that I titled Frosty, and I'm using the digital version of the collection Hello Winter by Carta Bella. So I have a bunch of paper strips, and this time I try to be a little more angled. So if things are a bit crooked, that is purposefully done. But again, I'm working across two pages as on some of my previous pages, and so that always poses the challenge with that big gap for the binding in between that will go away once the page is done. So here I'm using my ruler again to line things up so that once that gap for the binding is removed, that things will line up. So then I have this other piece or strip of paper that goes top to bottom, and again I'm angling that, and this one is going to go a little more straight so that there is some sort of angling and not too much repetition in the angling. And again I'm using my ruler, lining up the two pages to then put that last little bit there that needs to connect to the other side. Again, there is a binding in between that will basically be hidden once the book is bound together, and so that big gap will mostly disappear after the page is done. So then here I am putting the photos down to decide where that circle will go, because I want it to still peek from underneath the photo so that I can still see it well, and then it's time for me to glue down the photo. And again I'm angling things because for once I realized I am doing too much straight, because I do create my pages in Silhouette Studio, and then there I'm not bothering to angle things because I need to then also print them, and so for the printing it's much easier if everything is just straight, so I never angle things, and then I forget on my pages that I should angle things. So that's something that I want to pay more attention to on my future pages, so that it's not all just straightforward and straight lines, but it can be a little bit angled as well. Then I am ready to start with the embellishment, and so there are about 3 main clusters that I'm working with. And for those, I am adding some word strips as well. These word strips I create myself. They're available as freebie on my blog, mistyhilltops.com, or will be if they are not at the time that you're watching this. So go check out mistyhilltops.com to see there's a bunch of word strips and lots of other freebies if you're interested in those. They're for digital scrapbooking as well as for paper scrapbooking, so it's got everything. Anyway, so now I am putting the word strips on the edge of that page, and because I don't want it to overlap too much with that busy written paper that has just a written pattern on it, which is very beautiful but too busy for word strips. And then I have more word strips that I felt, they can go on that where there is still a spot on that circle there, so I decide to put those down right there in kind of the center of that design that is there. And then I have more word strips that I want to connect to that little cluster over there. So I do like to have some connections to other elements to create these clusters and not just have them hanging around and just free hanging. And then for the title, I used a kind of like a plaid pattern stamp and stamped this pattern in a continuous pattern so that then I could use this alpha to cut out. It's a die, alpha die, and so I cut it out and add it to the page. It says Frosty, and I felt it turned out really nicely with just giving it a hint of color on, or just a shade. So it's a shade darker than the white of the background, and so I think it turned out really nice with this being such an icy cold paper. So I do like to work with stamps and creating patterns for my alphas that I then use my die cuts for my die and the alphas, and then turn them into pretty alphas on my pages. And I'm also making sure that they're not just aligned perfectly to each other, but that they're staggered, and I think that makes a pretty page. Now this is my page done. I'm leaving you with some more close-ups. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. Bye.